Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about all the book series that I still need to finish. So I love book series, maybe even more than standalones in a lot of different ways. Like, I love just having multiple books that just suck me into a world and a story. And as impatient as I actually am, I do think that there is some fun in like waiting for the next book in the series to come out, but that's not what we're going to be talking about today. For the purposes of this video, all of the series I'm going to be talking about are, to my knowledge at the very least, completely done, with the exception of like spin-offs or books that exist in the same universe or anything like that, and also these are all series that I've already started. And I'm going to be talking about these books in the order of when I read the first book in the series. So it's going to start with the series that I've started most recently, all the way back to the ones that I've sat unfinished for a really long time. So with that, we're going to get started here with the Princess Trilogy by Lara Sebastian. So this book follows a princess that when she was very young, her mother was killed and her entire country was taken over. She is then held captive in her own castle, where she is handed the title of Ash Princess. One night she is forced by the Kaiser to get blood on her hands, and then this makes her realize that just surviving as a captive is no longer enough, and then she starts to form a plan to retake her throne. So Ash Princess was a book that I read very recently on my channel. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was kind of basic, but it was also kind of dark and graphic, which I really ended up enjoying from it. There's also a love triangle in there that I didn't like. I didn't really see the point of it. I kind of just thought it was like thrown in there just so the book would have one. Have I picked a side in the love triangle? Maybe. And in a very weird turn of events for me, I'm actually mostly continuing on with this series just to see if they end up together. I'm curious to see where they take the story. I mean, once again, it's a pretty basic plot. I think I have a pretty good idea of where it's going. But it's the execution of the story that mostly interests me. Like, I know where they're going, but how are they going to get there type of thing. Or maybe I'm just completely wrong and it'll end up surprising me. And it really would end up surprising me if it didn't go the route I'm thinking it did. And the only way to figure that out is if I read it, so I'm going to, and hopefully it turns out good. Maybe even a 4-star this time, maybe. We'll see. So the next series is The Crowns Game by Evelyn Skye. So this is a duology that follows the only 2 enchanters of Russia as they compete in the Crowns Game for a chance to become the Tsar's head advisor. So the winner gets to do that, and then the loser is killed, and there's also a love story in here. So The Crowns Game was a book at first that really made me nervous because I wasn't the biggest fan of Evelyn Skye's Circle of Shadows. But I wanted to give this series a read anyway, despite Circle of Shadows, because I've been wanting to read it for so long because the plot just sounded like something I would really enjoy, and I am so glad I gave this series a chance. Like, I gave the first book 4 stars. And it was like a really solid 4-star too. Like, there were points where I was actually considering the 5 stars, but then there were other points that just brought it back down. What I'm most looking forward to is just like the world in general, more specifically the magic system. Like, I really love the descriptions of magic in this book. What was happening on these pages with like what the characters were creating, and also just how the descriptions were written. I just thought it all combined to be really beautiful, and I cannot wait for more of that. I'm also hoping for like maybe some court politics in this book. This is another one that I think I know where it's going, but I'm less confident in that prediction than I was with Ash Princess. And even if it ends up going in a different direction, I'm sure I can find something else to like about this series. Like, I like plenty of it already, so I should be good. Also, real quick before I move on, I just really love these covers and I wanted to point them out. So the next series is the Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. So this book follows a princess who flees on her wedding day to go live a normal life. However, while she is doing so, the princess she was supposed to marry and also the assassin that was sent after her when she fled, they both show up there. She has no idea who they actually are, and a love triangle begins. I couldn't tell you why I like the first book of this series, but I do. My original goal was to just read this trilogy in order to get to Dance of Thieves. However, fortunately, what I expected to be a painful journey has turned out to be enjoyable and interesting. There were like hints of things going on in book 1 that I hope are more expanded upon in this one. As for the love triangle, I don't enjoy it. I try to keep an open mind when it comes to it, and for the most part that is still happening. But while that is the case, I will say I'm kind of leaning towards somebody. But I wouldn't say I'm too attached to that decision yet, so if it goes the other way, I think I'm gonna be okay. It's honestly just going to depend on like the characters' actions throughout the rest of this series, but anyway, I'm going to go in with my expectations low, and hopefully I can continue to like this series that seemed to work out with the first one, and maybe it'll work here too. So next we have The Remnant Chronicles by Mindee Arnett. So this book follows our main character Kate, who lives as an outcast after her father tries to assassinate the king. She also has like this animal magic that allows her to influence the minds of animals, and she has to keep this a secret. One day her magic leads her to a caravan that was attacked, and the only survivor of this attack is the prince who was once her best friend and also her love. There's a darkness growing in the kingdom, and that forces these two to put their past behind them and then actually work together. So Onyx and Ivory was a book that I liked enough to want to continue on with this series, but it was also a book that I thought kind of dragged at points, but I was also in the middle of like a pretty big reading slump during the time that I read it. So maybe I could have ended up enjoying that more, but at this point I'm not too attached to any of the characters, so I'm mostly just reading for the plot. I think this series is pretty interesting because it's written in a way that makes me feel like there could have been another book that was the first book, or maybe even a prequel. As for the future, I'm really excited to see where the story goes, and I'm hoping to see some things revealed in here that weren't revealed in the first one. I'm also pretty sure that this is only a duology, so this is also going to be the finale, and I like my finales intense, so I'm hoping for that too. So the next series is the Amberlough dossier by Lara Elena Donnelly. This book follows the city of Ambrelo during a fascist government uprising. It's an adult spy thriller that tells a story from the perspective of 3 different characters who all live in the city during that time. So this is a series that is probably best finished sooner rather than later. Mostly because there's just a lot of characters and a lot of political information, so it's kind of like hard to keep track and in my head a lot of the times. I really do love our 3 main characters, and I also love the romance and just like the general vibe that the different settings and different countries give off. It's also not like anything I've ever read before, and I really like that about it, even if I do get lost occasionally. This finale I'm specifically looking forward to because I just have like this gut feeling that it's going to be fantastic. Amberlough was like a 4-star, I really liked it, but Armistice was just like, it was okay. So with this last one, I'm hoping to get back to like that Amberlough really like level, or maybe even love. I'm not counting that out just yet. But it's been a really fun ride, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends. Next we have The System Divine Neurology by Jessica Brody and Joanne Rendell. It's a sci-fi retelling of Les Miserables that follows 3 different characters. One is a thief, one is a guardian, and then the other is an officer. They're all from completely different worlds, but their paths cross when they get mixed up in an upcoming revolution that could change the future of their planet forever. So I saw something that compared this series to the Lunar Chronicles, and whenever I see any like Marissa Meyer comparison, the book might as well be an insta-buy. That being said, I absolutely despise the love triangle in this book, and I also despise our main character, Shatine. But this series is just so addicting, like all the drama and the reveals, like whether or not I want to be, I'm into this. It's also only a duology, but both books are pretty massive, but I just flew through the first one like I did not feel the length at all. And honestly, I kind of wish there were more, because there were some things that needed to be revealed in that book that I've been waiting to be revealed, and they're probably in here. So going into this book, I'm looking for that, but I'm also just looking for like that same level of addiction and the same level of drama, and hopefully it delivers. So we're now moving on to books that I read before I started my channel, and we're going to start that off with the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. So this book follows a world where either you have red or silver blood. The silver are the elites, and then the red are the commoners. Our main character is a red who finds herself working in a silver palace, where she also finds out that she has a special power for her own. And it is there where she also starts working for the Red Guard to try to take down the silver regime. So this is a book series I always really wanted to read because of 1, just the covers, and then 2, because it's a really popular series. First book I think I gave a 4, and then the second I think I gave a 3. I've talked about that second book a little bit on my channel because I read it at the same time as We Hunt the Flame, and then also at the same time as There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rosepool, which that one was a 5-star read for me. So that 5-star combined with just like my general schedule at the time, I think really hurt that book. And I also honestly don't really remember it too well, but also I kind of do at the same time, which is weird. There have been multiple points since then where I think about the series and just wonder why I'm still reading it. I think it just comes down to that this series is just like a pretty mindless read for me. After book 1, I've never had too many opinions on it. I'm not too attached to anyone, and I'm just kind of like along for the ride. And there's something kind of fun and also just kind of comforting about that, and I don't have another series that I feel like that about, so yeah, I want to finish it one day. So next we have the Dark Artificers Trilogy by Cassandra Clare. This book follows our main character Emma, who is the best shadow hunter of her generation. She lives with the Blackthorn family in Los Angeles, where there's like a lot of tension between the shadow hunters and the fae creatures. One day these bodies of both fairies and humans start turning up dead, and these bodies have the same markings that Emma's parents once did when they died. And then this book follows Emma and the rest of the Blackthorn family as they investigate these murders. This series is actually taking me forever. I read Lady Midnight, then I took a break, and then I read Lord of Shadows. Well, I didn't finish it, but I took a break in the middle of it, and then I finished it, and now I'm on a small break. I really do want to read this soon, or at least start it, because like I'm in the mood for like a Shadow Hunter series, and I have been ever since I read Lord of Shadows. This is definitely my favorite trilogy out of all of the Shadow Hunter books, and I'm really excited to see how it finales. And then after this, I can finally move on to the rest of the Shadow Hunter books, because I read these in publication order, so I have like 3, maybe 4 by the time I get this done left. It's been a good ride for the most part, and I have no regrets about it. What I do think I'm looking forward to most is just the sense of accomplishment I'm going to feel when I have finally worked my way and caught up to this whole universe. So next I have the Effigies Trilogy by Sarah Rowley. Actually, I haven't talked about this on my channel yet. This is kind of fun. I'm excited. It follows 4 girls, and then they fight together to try to keep the world safe from the phantoms that try to destroy it. Each girl has a specific elemental power, and when one of the girls dies, another one is chosen to take her place. This is where our main character comes in. She's been a huge fan of these girls for forever, and when she joins them, she learns that maybe it's not all that she thought it was going to be. However, when a new threat arises, these girls have to learn how to work together. This book is major Sailor Moon vibes, which is really cool, and also there's like a superhero team dynamic thing going on, which you all know I love that. That being said, is it the best thing I've ever read? No. It was like a 3.5, maybe a 4, but it had a lot of elements that I was really into. I probably would have read the second book right after the first one came out, but I wanted to wait till the last book came out because it was still a while off at the time. But it's out now, but now it's been so long that I probably do need to like Google a recap of the first book or something. I'm still really looking forward to continuing on with this series. I remember liking the characters, but most of all, I just thought the world was really cool. So the next series is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This book follows our main character who was sent to this camp when she was very young after it was discovered that she had these abilities that neither her or any of the other kids can control. Our main character eventually escapes from this camp and then she joins up with like some other escapees as they go to the safe haven for kids like them. So I started this series around the time the movie was coming out, and the first book was really solid, like I was really enjoying it. But toward the end, I don't even know what happened here, but it just really lost me. Like I haven't even watched the movie yet because of that. But whenever I think back to the first book, there's still like a lot of fond memories there. Because I was really just sucked into The Darkest Minds, and whenever a book can suck me into a story, that's a point in its favor no matter what else is going on in the story, whether I like it or not. And also just with like the characters in the series, I love their found family dynamics just so much. And for a book that I read almost 2 years ago now, it's just really stuck with me, so I feel like I owe it to not only this series, but also to myself to just get it done. The next series is the Carnival Trilogy by Stephanie Garber. It follows our main character Scarlett, who lives on a tiny island with her sister Tella. Scarlett is about to be married off into an arranged marriage by her evil father. However, she dreams of seeing the show Carnival, which is like a magical show where the audience can participate and compete in it. Her invitation arrives one day, however when they get there, Tella is kidnapped, and then the winner of the game is whoever can find her first. So Carnival was one of the first books that I read when I went back to reading after my senior year of high school ended. I liked Scarlett, I liked the romance, but most of all I just really liked the magical elements and just like Carnival itself. I gave Carnival 4 stars, but then we got the Legendary, and that may just be my least favorite book of all time. I cannot stand Tella. Like Shatine from the System Divine series, I like her more than Tella. I also didn't like the romance in Legendary, and then there was like also a reveal in there that was like really hyped up, but when it was revealed I didn't like it. But the magic system in Legendary was what took it from a 1 to a 2 star. Like there was some really cool stuff in there, I thought. For the longest time I wasn't going to finish this trilogy, but for some reason I just can't get it out of my head. And I think that the only way to relieve myself of that is just to read the finale. I'm going to try to be optimistic about this series for a second. I really do like the game itself, and I really do like the magic system a lot, so hopefully that'll be in here, and maybe it'll surprise me, I don't know. So that's going to be all the series I have for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!